Polk County Board of Commissioners. It is August 4th, 2026. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is comments for not on this agenda. Anybody like to address the board? Hearing nobody. Prior to approval agenda, we have an add-on for a surplus vehicle, declare a surplus vehicle for the Polk County Fire Chaplain. And Mr. Greg Hanson will be covering that. So with that note, looking for approval of agenda.
So moved with amendments. Second.
And moved in second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Looking for approval of minutes of July 28th, 2026.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Brings us to Polk Soil and Water Conservation District upgrade. So Kevin and Maureen, come on up.
Beth is gonna join us too, so we'll just
Okay.
take turns.
You want to get an extra chair? Or he's got, yeah. Let's go three of you up there. And then Mike will pick you all three up.
We'll pick everybody up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
That works.
That might be better.
You introduce yourselves for the record. We appreciate it very much.
You bet. My name is Kevin Porter, I'm the district manager for the Polk Soil and Water Conservation District.
I'm Morgan Neal, outreach coordinator for the Polk Soil and Water Conservation District.
Beth Teal. I'm a resource conservationist with the Polk Soil and Water Conservation District.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us this morning. Happy to come down and give you commissioners an update on the district and what we've kind of been up to. I know it's been quite a while since I've been down here to talk to you. So the three of us, and then we have two more staff members, Haley Iverson, who is at our front desk at the office down the street, and Mark Bell, who's also a resource conservationist at the district. So the five of us are the district staff. Then in our office, we also have Trevor Crandall, who's the acting NRCS district conservationist for Polk County, and Brandon Steiner, who's the district forester for NRCS. That's currently the federal staff that we have in the county. That plan for NRCS staffing has been kind of in the works, as we've known, like for the last year. It's always been next week. It does sound like we may, I'm not going to say this week, but here within the next 10 days, the state conservationist, Greg Becker, has been authorized to start talking to his employees across the state about their new reorganization plan. That is going to include some consolidation of their leadership, their statewide leadership. So above the county level, they have what they call a basin team leader, which is a regional position. There's generally been 4 or 5 of those in Oregon to kind of cover the different districts: east, southwest, southeast, east, far east. What we hear is there's going to be 2 of those, basically an east and west kind of regional supervisor. And there may be county level offices that have a combined district conservationist over one or 2 counties. In some cases, maybe more. We don't know that. So possibility that there may be a district conservationist here. They may not choose to fill that position, and Polk may staff. There will be staff here, NRCS staff, but they may be supervised from another office by that district conservationist. We'll deal with it as we get it. We did have some concern, initially with their decisions on what they were going to do for field offices. We've been reassured that they are not going to close field offices at the county level. Again, I think we'll see that when it reveals. Hopefully that's also part of this reorganization plan, is a firm commitment to what they're going to do at the county office level. With all of that, funding, as we all know, has been very competitive. The federal funding has been pulled back somewhat. There is still hardly there. Last year, the district, our final income was a little over $620,000, and our expenses were right at $720,000. We have had a pretty good surplus from past years, but we need to at least cover our expenses. So we're refocusing on looking at grant and partner opportunities. We'll be having probably further discussions with the county, with watershed councils, other districts here, to see what we can team up with and pursue funding that would also, bring income in for everybody. Hopefully we can kind of be that kind of nexus here. We still do have reserve. We're not, in a financial crisis by any means, but we do need to, start working on some of this quite seriously. We do have an ad hoc committee we've formed to get input from staff, board members, and some citizens in the county that really are involved with us to identify some of those funding opportunities and make some plans to try to pursue those. The current projects we have, of course, our biggest project has been our Polk Oak RCPP, which is a regional conservation partnership program. Those are designed to fund capacity at the district level to do work for and with NRCS. Our RCPP program focused on restoration and enhancement of Oregon white oak habitat. That has gotten about a little over $1 million in contracts for that work out to landowners in the county across 7 contracts, and we're actually finalizing an 8th, and will be the last contract right now. We hope to have that obligated here by the end of August. We have one very large contract in that with the Confederated Tribes of Grand Round, which is roughly about half of that money. And that's at their Noble Oaks property. That has also paid for a certified conservation planner at the district. So that has been Mark. So he's able to do that pre-planning and a lot of the non-financial obligation work for and with NRCS, and then they can kind of take that last 30% and do the financial obligations and those parts that they kind of have to do in their systems. And it allows us to, fill in for that, lack of capacity that they have to do that and get a little bit more money on the ground. We also have here the Salt Creek Focused Ag Solutions Project. Beth will talk about that a little more, but that's a traditional SIA, which is a more focused look at an agricultural water quality area. Those have been offered through a web, And then combined with that, ODA has given us some funding to pay for some outreach and also to put some projects on the ground with landowners. So we have about $92,000 there that we'll be looking to contract out over the next year to get some small but hopefully starter projects in agricultural water quality improvement in the Salt Creek area. And Beth will talk more about that. We also do the CREP Tech. So CREP is Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. It's designed to bolster riparian areas along streams and give landowners a contract with, it's actually through the Farm Service Agency. So it's a contract with the federal government to plant and then not use that ground for production farming and provide those shade and setbacks away from streams. Again, the district does the engagement with willing landowners and writing the plan and kind of handing all of those documents off to FSA so they can do the contracting and financial obligation part. We currently have 18 active contracts in the county. And I believe that's going to drop to 17 here at the end of the year. We have one, I believe a 15-year contract that's up and the landowners chosen not to re-enroll, partially due to at the state level, Oregon has chosen to not pay a premium for irrigated or irrigatable land in CREP. So with that payment reduction, the landowner's chosen to not re-enroll in that program. We do get what we call a district capacity grant, which is for our base general fund through OWEB, and that's kind of overseen also by ODA. We get a scope of work document with that capacity that ties about 70% of that funding to work directed in agricultural water quality activities. So that's, designed to, allow for staffing to be at the district to answer, landowner calls, do site visits, do outreach for a whole host of things, very broad topic, but generally, that it needs to relate to that agricultural water quality scope of work. We get about $100,000 a year from that capacity grant from OWEB. We also do small grants. Those are to about $20,000 max, designed to get, I don't know if I want to say easier, but a less involved process to get work right out with landowners for various, things that to give them money to engage a contractor or to materials or whatever may need be for like a heavy use area, mud and manure management, small improvement projects on agricultural land. And Morgan's also starting the Connected Habitat program, where we're looking to engage landowners across the county to do small conservation projects on their own. She'll have more detail about that when she talks. So. We recently we started this last fall in 2025 and finished it early here in 26. The board and staff did a strategic planning, long-range planning process, and with the feedback that we've gotten from the community in mind, we've set these priorities for our work to go forward. These are not in any real particular order, but this is really based on community feedback from, meetings we have where we pull or gain that input. And that was good. Our current board of directors, Donna Champeau and Rubio Valladares are at-large directors. Tom Pittingham, Prior Garnett, Lindsay McClary, Eden Olson, and Mike Wilson all represent the zones. We are heading into an election year. So these are our zones. Zone 2, 3, and 5 are up for a regular election cycle this fall. We also have zone 4 and at-large 2 up for election. Zone 4 is a little bit out of cycle because we had Tom Finnegan was appointed to that position, and then he needs to run again in the next regular election, which he'll do this year. And then we'll work that back onto our regular cycle. We've done some outreach events to try to get some interested people to run for zone positions and at-large positions. And try to get this information. I know this isn't going to read clear through this, but several years ago, there was a change in the law for soil and water conservation districts. Counties with a population over 250,000 no longer have the acreage requirement for zones. When that was initially proposed, that was going to be just for everybody. That a lot of the more rural counties did like that 10-acre requirement. And, honestly have an easier time of finding people with 10 acres who are interested. In areas like East Multnomah County, there's zones that literally don't have a property that's 10 acres in size anymore. So they have a big challenge in getting a zone director. But our at-large directors don't have the acreage requirement. They just need to be a voter in the county. And the zone directors do need to have 10 or more acres that they manage, or there is a pathway to be an associate director or have prior board service where they join the board. And this is the 60th year of the Polk Soil and Water Conservation District. So this is the first board.
Don't any of those things.
A couple of these are Craig's neighbors. You can come right back at you.
I know which of those names.
I didn't even read the names, but I
Yeah.
see Louis Hamilton.
Louis Hamilton's up there,
Hugh
Emil
Muller.
Marks.
Hugh
Yeah.
Muller, yeah.
Yeah, Hugh Miller, Joe Shepard, Elmer Worth. And then Harry Martin was what was called the ASCS. It's like the American Soil Conservation Service, which is now the NRCS. So those federal representatives were kind of tasked with forming or helping to form those first soil and water conservation districts. Interestingly enough, Polk, we were one of the last ones in the state of Oregon to form a soil and water conservation district. I think there was maybe one more after Polk formed, I think in '68. The very first one was in South Tillamook County in 1941. So it's had a nice long span of time, but we're planning a nice event here this late summer to celebrate the 60th anniversary and make sure that you all get an invitation to that. So thank you.
That's my cue. Thanks for having me. I'm new to coming to these types of meetings, so as you have questions, just feel free to ask them as I go. I brought a bunch of paper too. I hope that's okay, but as we go, I'll give you some handouts that are related to what I'm talking about. So I'm fairly newest person in the office. I've been here just over 3 years. And when I first came, this picture was taken as I was helping Derek Godwin, who's at OSU Extension, watershed specialist, do water quality monitoring in the ash swale and Salt Creek area. So ash swale is a tributary of Salt Creek. So that was one of my first assignments, was that I'm going to be doing water quality monitoring and that type of connection to ODA. So,
Is he still working this project up there?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Derek's still involved, and we're still have a focus on Salt Creek. And I'm so grateful that he is here because he provides a lot of really great information. So that was 2 focus areas ago when I first started, and our latest focus area project is this Focused Ag Solutions. So as Kevin mentioned, that is a standard strategic implementation area, or SIA, program that ODA has been doing for decades, or about a decade, where they focus on outreach and compliance with ODA state law in agriculture water quality laws on a watershed. And so they'll do a review. And so it is that type of an SIA, but it comes with this extra funding and outreach money. So we do upfront a lot of outreach with the landowners in the Salt Creek area. And now we have, and we're also continuing with our water quality monitoring as well. Before we were looking at nitrates, phosphorus, a wide variety of different typical water quality parameters. With this switch to Focused Ag Solutions, and because of the extra funding, and so this is one of my first handouts, it is focused on mercury reduction. So, and this one probably could go too. So we're focused on reduction because that's where that funding came from. So reduction in mercury, we don't have any way to prevent mercury pollution because it mostly comes in the air. But there are warnings to only eat a certain amount of fish per week out of the Willamette River, right? So that's not a great thing. We want to try and reduce the mercury. Mercury is attached to sediment. So we have a focus on sediment and trying to reduce sediment, which everybody wants to do anyway. So it felt like a win-win situation. Yes, we'll take that extra funding to do more outreach on how to reduce sediment getting into the streams. This is Marky Hess. She works with the Greater Yamhill Watershed Council, and we are contracted with that organization to take up the monitoring. So I'm not out there as much in my waders, which is kind of sad, but now Marky is. And this is actually taken during the flood that we had in December, flooding on Salt Creek, minor, kind of typical, but she's standing right on the road.
Wow,
Yeah.
I could have sworn that was a lake.
Right. She's walking on water. These are the sites that we monitor in this round of monitoring that we're doing. So from Brown Road area at the headwaters of Salt Creek down to the outside of Whiteson and pretty close to the mouth of Salt Creek. And again, we have a focus on total suspended solids, or TSS, which is another word for sediment, as well as temperature monitoring in the summer. We're focusing our TSS, and so this is again, just we want to reduce sediment in streams. It's a shared goal, and part of our outreach was bringing people together in the Salt Creek watershed to discuss what types of practices are going to be best for the watershed to help reduce sediment, but also that you're interested in implementing on your own property. So these are the results. So over the winter is when we are taking samples. So we're interested in those high water events. And so I'm going to flip through these pretty quickly, but suffice to say, I think that as we gather more information, it becomes more clear to us what areas might be problem areas, whether or not it's a specific sub-watershed, and whether practices that are implemented helps reduce sediment. And also just like, when is the sediment the biggest problem? What months? And so, yeah, let's see. And then this just to show what the gauge height was on the days that we were taking the samples, so that you can see we're at the high water level. So during the December storm at the various sites, you can get a sense of during a storm, and we're trying to do 2 or 3 samples during each storm, what's happening. And so TS13, there's the highest one. That's right in the middle of the watershed, seems to be the highest one. But also TS3 is the one that increases the most towards the end. And that one's actually on Star Road, TS3 is. So that's what it is in late February, the water height, and these are the results there. And so TS3 is the highest one in February. That's there on Star Road. So pretty high up in the watershed. You would I'm not a hydrologist, but I would expect that as you go farther down the watershed, you're going to see more sediment load in there, but actually that's pretty high up in the watershed. And then one last time in March, and those are the results and how they look when you're comparing our December storm, our February storm, and our March storm. So, over time, as we get more data, we can analyze it better and come up with some answers, hopefully, some inclinations. Temperature is another thing that we're looking at. You can see that pink line at the bottom is 18 degrees Celsius, about 64 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't want to go above that, otherwise you're affecting aquatic life. And these are the summer temperatures from 2020 to 24. So all the sites are well above that threshold, unfortunately. So this is a slide from the meeting we held, a series of 5 meetings over the winter with the landowners in the Salt Creek watershed that were topical, but also talking about this overall project and how we want to eventually come up with a list of practices that help guide our work and help guide the rest of the Focused Ag Solutions project. So these are the general categories of practices that we are asking people to rank. Like, which do you think are going to be the most likely that you would implement and that would be most effective at reducing sediment in the watershed? And I have, if you're interested, I have more about what each of those practices are, but also this is just how they rank it. Not a huge surprise in the ranking. I mean, it's the buffers along the ditches and it's forested riparian areas, et cetera, to help filter water as it comes, field borders, et cetera.
Are these rankings, who set the landowners, what they're sort of willing and able to, okay.
Yeah. And yeah, so it was mainly the landowners. And then, so we had a group discussion to start with, but then at the end, to further the ranking, we had them put stickers next to their top choices, 4 stickers. Yeah. So, and then, so that's our Focused Ag Solutions project in a nutshell. We have been doing water quality monitoring for years out there. We're continuing to gather that data. We have this funding now available for landowners who are interested in implementing projects. We have a few applications in right now. Probably 2 of them will go forward. So we still have funding available. And we're hopeful that we'll have some projects that we can highlight and do tours of in a couple of years. So that's the stage we're at with the Focused Ag Solutions right now, is just implementing some projects on the ground. And then in 2028, they'll do a final review ODA will of the watershed. So these are a couple of small grants that I'm working on. So I also go out and work just individually as landowners have issues on their land. So basically, we're working on preventing erosion on stream banks and helping people who are experiencing heavy erosion. So one there to reduce. We're going to hopefully install a grassed waterway in a vineyard. And then this other one is just stabilizing these seasonal streams that run in the winter that erode the banks. So I'm also working, my other assignment is working on invasive species. And as you've probably heard, EAB or emerald ash borer is headed this way. Very close. It's surrounding us more or less. Marion and Yamhill all have it. And it was just found in South Salem recently. So it will be here probably this year or next year. And then it's expected to take out all of the ash trees within a decade. That is the primary species native tree in our riparian areas. That's going to have a huge impact on the temperature of the water. And so working with other counties and the state ODF has done an excellent job of helping people prepare for this. So I'm attending a subcommittee that is for the counties where they already have EAB, but I'm just listening in to see how they're all preparing. We have a couple traps set up. I've reached out to the city of Dallas, and so they've put up a couple of traps, and then we have a couple traps out on our property at Cornerstone as well. Just checked them last week or the week before, and there aren't any EAB on there so far. So that's good news.
Are there alternative species that
Yes.
you think they're going to want us to start planting?
Oh, definitely. In fact, OSU has a really great publication out that is very simple to follow. Not a huge list of alternative species that fill the general niche that ash fills, depending on soil and amount of water. There's a variety of different trees that we could plant. Yeah. And so there's actually in Polk County at Gail Ackerman Wildlife Area, they are applying for some funding. They being the Willamette River Keepers, working with ODF and W to remove a whole bunch of ash in strips and start planting in there. So a lot of ash is going to remain, but they'll be starting by planting in new types of vegetation, trees and shrubs. Yeah. So the invasive species program I mentioned is something else that I'm working on, and I've met with Craig to talk more about how we can bolster a program for invasive species. So according to a legislative background brief, we lose a lot of money due to invasive species. And if we leave it uncontrolled, it's going to get a lot higher. ODA County Weed Control grants are available to entities that are designated by the Board of Commissioners as the lead entity. And so that's why I met with Mr. Pope and talked about the possibility of that occurring. And our board is in favor. And so we're just, I think, going to have some more conversation about exactly what that looks like. Make sure all of our expectations are clear about what it is we can do if we are designated lead entity. But if we are designated, we can apply for this special pot of funding through the weed board grants.
So let me cut in there on that one because I haven't briefed the board
Oh,
on conversation,
go for it.
which is a good job. That's a nice little segue for them to hear because I first and foremost, as I said to you, want to make sure that your boss and his bosses understand what you're asking for and that they're clear-eyed about the work. My opinion is this is absolutely what we should be doing and naming the Soil and Water Conservation District as our weed control managers, not district. Some people do get that confused. So a district has tax implications and managers don't. But I'm highly in favor of this and, at some point it's not ready for action here, but I wanted to at least make sure these guys knew what our conversation is and that it gives you the opportunity, as you demonstrated in that slide, to be able to apply for grant dollars that you can't apply for today. And as the chairman of the Oregon Weed Board, I see that slot missing in those applications, and it doesn't guarantee you'll get that money, but
Right.
you need to be able to have an access to them. And we have so many problems in this county, but of course, nothing like some other counties do that are much bigger problems with invasives. But we have our share.
Right.
And it would be great to have an agency that we, as commissioners, could all say, yep, we have people, smart people that know what to do here, know how to advise you, landowner, on taking care of the problem that there's really no other money for than that this money, access to this money is for projects, special projects, to be able to go out and work on tansy patches, for example. Big problem today. So anyway, thank you
That's a
for
call.
indulging me and giving me the opportunity to at least bring them up to speed on what our conversation has been.
Thank you for that extra input. Yes, I have applied for weed board grants outside of this designation, just that everybody in the state is available to apply for. And we're not successful because we don't have A-listed weeds in our county, which is a good thing, but it means it's really difficult for us to get that funding. So we can use this special pool of funding as a lead entity on B-listed weeds. So that's kind of why we think we can go towards that. And
Curious, when does that application window open?
December,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
We have a little bit of time, but I definitely want to, by the end of August, beginning of September, I'm hoping we can maybe have a work session and kind of work through the details and kind of get that all sorted.
Yeah.
But I like what you said, clear-eyed. Let's be sure we understand exactly what we're doing. And to be clear too, we don't want to have any kind of an enforcement responsibility. So we've never been regulatory and we don't want to start. But so continuing on that, which is fine. You can be a lead entity and not be regulatory. So these are the things we currently already do. You know, I am the responder for the hotline, the Oregon Invasives hotline. We do volunteer weed polls, coordinate with contractors to treat high priority invasives. We've done Ludwigia on the Basket Slough Channel, as well as some knotweed over in West Salem. We provide resources to interested landowners and created a new booklet recently last summer that is about the priority species in Polk County. And we are on the steering committee of the Cooperative Weed Management Area is what CWMA stands for, with Yamhill and Marion counties. And we maintain a list of contractors that are licensed to apply herbicide because a lot of these priority weeds require a certified applicator, and happy to provide that. So work that would be in addition is what I imagine, but of course this isn't set in stone, is to host an annual meeting with our partners. So all the municipalities, ODF, ODA, bring them all together so we can agree on what our priority species are. And then I'd really like to develop a funding program to assist landowners, some kind of a cost share program. Just, it's not going to be a lot of money, but it just gets it out there so that people can think about, okay, we've got some extra support to get it started. Establish a system of tracking the invasives. So I'm not the GIS specialist in the office, so we have a current contract with your GIS department, which is fantastic. And so working more with them to create a system for tracking, I think will be a really important piece of it. And yeah, just other possibilities as well that could work. And then, of course, once we clear out our invasives, we want to promote natives and getting a lot more natives out on the ground. Native plants, and so that's a segue into Morgan's wonderful work.
Thanks, Beth.
Yeah.
My position is the outreach coordinator, and I see my role as the person for the district that connects our community to resources, education, support, but also each other, and like building community and getting to know their neighbors and offering support to each other. So one of the ways that I do that, and I'll step back for a second, I want to take a really multifaceted approach to outreach to be able to connect with younger audiences and rural landowners and residential people, We last year got a new website. We have a resource hub on there so you can find information about the invasive species, resources for agriculture, wildlife, soil, water, wildlife habitat. Those are our top three priorities, but also forests, wildfire preparedness, which I'll touch more on in a minute, traditional ecological knowledge, and native plants. I manage our social media. So we do have a Facebook page and Instagram, sometimes use Nextdoor, and we also have a podcast that we do in collaboration with Marion Soil and Water Conservation District. And that is produced through KMUZ. That's a radio station. It's called Conservation Spotlight. So one of our recent episodes was with Louis Siegel there. She's a gardening instructor with the Lucky Mute Valley Charter Schools. We'd like to highlight a lot of different topics. I've had Beth on to talk about invasive species, or people from the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde's Natural Resource Department to talk about their land management and their native plant nursery, wildfire preparedness. We try to keep it seasonal too. So I have that come out every other month. And so it does air on the radio, but then it's also available as a recording so people can go and listen to it anytime. So I'm guessing some of you get cultivating at your home. That is done in partnership with OSU Extension. That comes out quarterly. Right now we're getting ready for our fall issue. And that goes to just over 9,000 rural homes in Polk County. And we share topics like the work that Beth's doing, or anyone on our team that has a timely article, projects that we're involved with, upcoming events and resources. We also have an e-newsletter, and so cultivating is available electronically too, and we share it in that newsletter. We have a yearly meeting, a community conservation meeting. The last couple of years, we've held that at Monmouth City Hall. Years before that, we were in West Salem. So every 2 or 3 years, we're trying to move it around the county. And we've had different formats to this meeting, but the overall goal is to give the community updates to our programs, resources, funding opportunities, but to also give them an opportunity to share their concerns with natural resources in Polk County. So we've had panel discussions like you see in this one. This year we had small group discussions where people broke out into their zones, like on the map that Kevin showed. So that's a great way for people to get to know their neighbors too. We've actually had one zone in that group. They said, let's get together more often. And so in PD, they had a recent get together. And so that's what I really want to facilitate and encourage, is more neighborhood meetings. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities. We go out to Grand Ronde's nursery, do weed pulls. We have usually an Earth Day event, or our native plant sale is supported by volunteers too. Beth mentioned our property cornerstone. That's we've had volunteers out there. In that picture on the right, help to put up some bird boxes that were donated. Volunteers have helped Beth with water quality monitoring. And I will talk more about our Connected Wildlife Habitat program in just a minute. This was our outing out at the tribe's nursery. They've been a really great partner for us. And we go out and help propagate plants that they use for their own properties and restoration projects. This is at our native plant sale. That will be up on our website, hopefully within the next week or two. People can pre-order online. We have a sale twice a year, but this big fall sale over at Hamblin's Nursery on Kings Valley Highway. We usually have close to 5,000 plants that we're getting out onto the landscape every year. And as you can see, we're a small team. So this is largely volunteer supported. So we have somewhere around 30 to 40 volunteers that come out every year to help us with that. And we're very thankful to Hamblin's to host that. It's like the perfect spot in the fall with those big empty greenhouses. Another project that we've been involved with recently is a pollinator garden. The city of Dallas invited us to work with them to put in a native plant garden at their new park, John Barnard Park. And it's a little over 2,700 square feet. It has 36 species of native plants, and we worked with our local watershed council and then two landscape designers designed the garden. And the old mill in Dallas donated compost for our garden. Plants were purchased with donations from our native plant sale customers. And you can see we had a lot of volunteers out to help. Close to 30 volunteers helped prepare the garden, plant the plants, put out the mulch. It was a really great event. And then we also were able to get in an educational sign about the importance of native plants and pollinators for our ecosystem, also people as well. And then we had this was a picture from our open house. You can see everything growing. And if you haven't been there, I highly encourage it. We recently got out some little tags to help people ID the different plants to get to know what's what. Another program that I've started in an effort to reach more members of our community, a more diverse community, is a native plant grant. This is funded by proceeds from our native plant sale. Applications are due August 20th, and we can fund a minimum of 5 projects, maybe more, depending on the funding request. But it could be for a pollinator garden, like you saw in the picture, a rain garden in the cities, to help with erosion control in riparian areas, or pollinator hedgerow on farms, all using native plants. So really diverse types of projects that people could apply for. And then we want to just build upon that and show the good work that people are doing and encourage more projects like that around the county. I did put the information and applications for that on the table there if you want to get more information on that. And then the other program that we're getting going is the Connected Wildlife Habitat Program. We got a little bit of funding from the Oregon Wildlife Foundation to get this going. So this is to encourage creating wildlife habitat. It could be for a farm, it could be for a small residential home, but people can apply if they have native plants, so food, water source. They're incorporating sustainable practices and have shelter for wildlife. And then they get a little sign that they put up in their property, and we'll share that in our social media and newsletters just to encourage more wise use of our natural resources and water, and creating habitat. So I think I hit the wrong button. Okay. I am also involved with the Mid-Valley Prescribed Burn Association. That is Marion, Polk, Benton, and Lynn counties. I'm on the steering committee for that and helped them to create a website. So this Prescribed Burn Association is Soil and Water Conservation Districts, OSU Extension, the Institute for Applied Ecology, landowners, Oregon Department of Forestry, a lot of different organizations and community members that are coming together to combine resources, education, to provide opportunities for landowners that are interested in burning, prescribed burning on their property. And so one may want to burn for ecological purposes. And so I'm really excited to be helping them, and they're just getting this organization going. So, and then the other, here's a prescribed burn. And this is one of their community events. And the other group that I'm working with is the Willamette Valley Wildfire Coalition. This is a multi-county group, and we have, I believe it's around $14,000 from the Oregon State Fire Marshal that we're trying to figure out how to spend that. I think from the community events and talking with people, the issue is that people don't have the resources to necessarily do the work to create defensible spaces and brush management on their properties. So what I would like to do is to try and facilitate more fire-wise communities. So I have a meeting that is coming up with Stephanie from OSFM and the Oregon Department of Forestry to see if that's something that I can help facilitate around the county, creating communities where people come and work together to help prepare for wildfire. As you've seen, you know, in Polk County, we've had 2 fires in Dallas recently, one yesterday. So I did print out a packet of information from the Oregon State Fire Marshal, and I dogtailed the one that I really want you to look at, which is the emergency response preparedness. So just, I want to make sure that we're all connected to the information from our county's emergency manager, Dean Bender, and that we're all prepared and know what to do in the event that a wildfire is in our backyard. And part of working with this group is to have a shared message around the valley, and just to get everyone educated and ready. So I think that's it. We have a few minutes if you have any questions.
Questions, gentlemen?
I'm curious if your, Morgan, if your work on the firewise programs and the like, if the work already kind of underway for the Polk County Community Wildlife Protection Plan could sort of intersect there, if it's included in that plan or whatever, if that could be leveraged for additional grant dollars. I know 14,000 will go a long way, but if one of the biggest barriers is just resources for people in the wildland urban interface to conduct that, if there could be other possibilities, if you've explored that.
Mm-hmm. I was involved with that group. We met at the Public Works office, and that was also funded by OSFM, I believe. So I think that I would love to tie the two together and meet with our local fire districts more regularly. We've done some work with Southwest Polk Fire, but I know that they're really stretched thin, especially right now with fire season. But I would love to meet with Dean Bender and our Polk One as well, more rural districts to tie in those goals and yeah, have these two work together.
It's timely.
Yes, yes.
I just have one other question for Kevin.
Go
It's a
for it.
budget question. So the permanent rate of the district is 0.05,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What's your average revenue per year for that?
So it's, you know,
Your budget?
been creeping up. This year, the projection is right at $400,000.
Okay, so pretty small fraction of your total budget.
Yep.
Yep. Thanks. Really appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Step is surplus vehicle. Mr. Greg Hansen.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, you have a email from our sheriff along with a accompanying letter of request from the Monmouth Independence chaplains for use of a county vehicle that has been damaged in a wreck and is no longer in service for the Polk County Sheriff. We would normally sell this vehicle as is through auction. However, with this request and also the recommendation of the sheriff, they're requesting that we donate that vehicle to the chaplain program. I believe that Dallas may be joining the Monmouth Independence Chaplains. But that's the request. You have to declare the vehicle surplus, and then the donation process is just a simple letter or whatever for their use. They aren't supposed to go out and resell it and that kind of stuff for profit. So that's the request. We've done this in the past for other entities and organizations, so it's nothing new, but wanted to bring it before you so you could declare it surplus if you guys are so willing.
Any questions?
We have a vehicle identified?
Oh, yeah, we wrecked it, or a deer wrecked it for us.
Yeah, Lieutenant.
Milk.
Elk ran into the side of it.
So, yeah,
That's
we have the vehicle
important.
and it hasn't been put on the auction, so. All right,
All three good?
all righty. I will let the sheriff know. Go through that process.
Any unlisted items today?
No, sir.
Okay,
No,
with that, we're adjourned.